I knew three things the moment I stepped into the Black Pine Pack house. First, everyone was staring at me like I'd risen from the grave. Second, the most devastatingly beautiful man I'd ever seen was looking at me with pure, unfiltered horror. And third, I was apparently his dead mate. The wooden floors creaked under my boots as I stood in the entrance hall, my duffel bag suddenly weighing 1,000 pounds on my shoulder. 20 pairs of eyes tracked my every breath. The silence was so thick I could taste it, bitter, like old coffee and older grief. "Who are you?" The voice came from the man at the top of the stairs, and sweet heaven, even his words had claws. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair that fell across his forehead like he'd been running his hands through it. His eyes were amber wolf eyes, even in human form, and they were locked on me with an intensity that made my knees weak. The mate bond slammed into me like a freight train. I'd heard about it my whole life, whispered about in the foster homes, muttered about by the few wolves I'd encountered in my wandering. But nobody had prepared me for this ache, this desperate need, this feeling like I'd been walking around with half a soul and suddenly found the other piece. "I'm Rowan Thorne." My voice came out steadier than I felt. "I was told to come here. I was told. I was told the Black Pine Pack might know something about my mother." The woman to my right, sharp-featured, with silver threading through her red hair, sucked in a breath. "Dear goddess. Get out." The man on the stairs didn't move, but his words hit like a physical blow. "Get out of my house. Now." Kieran, an older man, stepped forward, his hand raised in peace. "Alpha, perhaps we should," I said. "Get out." Kieran's hands were shaking. Actually shaking. "I don't know what kind of sick game this is, but I won't." He stopped mid-sentence, his whole body going rigid. His eyes widened, and for a moment, I saw something flicker there, something wild and desperate and alive. Then he turned and walked away, disappearing down the upstairs hallway like the hounds of hell were chasing him. I stood there, still holding my bag, still feeling like I'd been punched in the chest. The mate bond was screaming at me to follow him, to chase him down, to make him look at me again. But my legs wouldn't move. The older man cleared his throat. "Please forgive our alpha. I'm Marcus, the pack's beta. Perhaps we should talk in the kitchen." "What just happened?" I managed to ask as he gently took my bag and gestured for me to follow. The sharp-featured woman fell into step beside us. "I'm Sage, the pack healer. And what just happened, honey, is that you woke up a dead wolf." The kitchen was warm and smelled like bread and coffee. Someone pushed a mug into my hands, and I wrapped my fingers around it, grateful for something solid to hold onto. 6 people had gathered around the table, Marcus, Sage, and 4 others who watched me with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright suspicion. 3 years ago, Marcus began carefully, our alpha lost his mate. Her name was Elena. She was killed by rogues on the border of our territory. "I'm sorry." The words felt inadequate. "But I don't understand what that has to do with—" "When she died, his wolf died with her," Sage interrupted. "Not literally, but—" "Kieran hasn't shifted in 3 years. His wolf went dormant. Silent. We thought we'd lose him entirely. An alpha without his wolf is like a tree without roots. He's held on through sheer stubbornness, but he's been dying slowly." I set down the coffee cup before I could drop it. "That's not possible. Wolves don't just go dormant. They do when their mate bond is severed by death," Marcus said quietly. The pain broke something in him. "We've had healers come from 3 states away. Nothing's worked." "Until you walked through that door," a younger man said from the end of the table. He didn't sound pleased about it. "His wolf recognized you." I could feel it through the pack bond, like lightning striking. Whatever was dead in him just came roaring back to life. But that's good, right? I looked around the table, confused by their grim faces. "If his wolf is awake." "It's not good if you're some kind of witch trying to trap our alpha," the young man snapped. "Elena was his fated mate. You can't just replace." "Enough, Connor." Marcus's voice carried authority. "We don't know anything yet. I'm not trying to replace anyone." I pushed back from the table, anger finally burning through the shock. I didn't even know what I was walking into. I came here because a woman named Margaret told me before she died that my mother came from Black Pine. That someone here might know who she was. Who I am. Margaret Chin. Sage leaned forward. The wolf who ran the shelter in Portland? You knew her. She left Black Pine 40 years ago. When I helped displaced wolves in the city. Sage studied my face like she was looking for something. What did your mother look like? I don't know. I never knew her. Margaret raised me from a baby. She said my mother left me on her doorstep with a note that just said keep her safe and a silver pendant. I pulled the chain from under my shirt, revealing the small wolf charm. This was all I had. The room went dead silent. Oh, goddess. Sage's hand flew to her mouth. That's Elena's pendant. Her mother gave it to her when she turned 18. She wore it every day until she died. Marcus finished, his voice hollow. We buried it with her. That's impossible. I looked down at the silver wolf, my hand trembling. I've had this since I was a baby. Margaret said it came with me. How old are you? Connor demanded. 23. I'll be 24 next month. Elena died 3 years ago, Sage said slowly. She was 25. Which means, this doesn't make any sense. I pulled the pendant off and set it on the table like it had burned me. I'm not a ghost. I'm not some reincarnation or trick. I'm just me, just Rowan. I came here looking for answers about my past, not to steal someone's dead mate. The mate bond doesn't lie, Marcus said quietly. If Kieran's wolf recognized you, there's a reason. Even if we don't understand it yet. Well, he clearly doesn't want me here. I stood up, fighting the urge to run upstairs and find him, to make him listen, to make him feel this bond the way I was feeling it. Maybe I should just go. No. The word was sharp, commanding, and came from the doorway. Kieran stood there, still looking like he'd been through hell, but steadier now. More controlled. His eyes met mine, and I felt that pull again, stronger this time, like gravity had doubled. You're not leaving, he said. Not until I figure out what you are. I'm not a what, I shot back, my own temper rising to meet his. I'm a person. And I'm your mate, apparently, whether either of us likes it or not. Something flickered in his expression, pain, longing, fury, I couldn't tell. My mate is dead. Well, your wolf seems to disagree. We stared at each other across the kitchen, the air crackling between us. I could feel his wolf now, prowling just under his skin, awake and aware and fixed on me with single-minded intensity. My own wolf, quiet for so long, was rising to meet it, drawn like a moth to flame. 2 weeks, Kieran said finally. Stay for 2 weeks. Let Sage examine you. Let us investigate where you really came from. If you're not a threat, if this is somehow real, we'll figure it out. But if this is some kind of trick. His voice dropped to something dangerous. If someone sent you here to manipulate me, I will find out. And you will regret it. I'm not afraid of you, I lied, because I was, but not in the way he meant. I was afraid of this bond, of the way my whole world had tilted on its axis the moment I saw him. I was afraid of wanting someone who looked at me like I was breaking his heart just by existing. You should be, he said softly. Then he turned and left again, leaving me standing in his kitchen with a dead woman's pendant on the table and a mate bond that felt like it might tear me apart. Sage touched my arm gently. Come on. Let's get you settled. You look dead on your feet. Story of my life, I muttered, but I followed her out of the kitchen and up the stairs, trying not to notice how every cell in my body was screaming at me to go find Kieran, to make him understand, to somehow fix this impossible situation. 2 weeks. I had 2 weeks to prove I wasn't a threat, wasn't a trick, wasn't trying to replace a ghost. 2 weeks to figure out why a dead woman's pendant had been with me since birth. 2 weeks to survive a mate bond with a man who wished I didn't exist. This was going to be hell. Wanting to see what would happen next, subscribe to this channel to get to listen to more of our upcoming exciting stories. Click on the subscribe button now. Thank you. Chapter 2. The guest room Sage led me to was nice enough. Pale blue walls, a window overlooking the forest, a bed that looked like heaven after 3 days of bus travel. But I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt the mate bond tugging at me like a fishhook in my chest, pulling me toward wherever Kieran was in this massive house. At 3 in the morning, I gave up and went looking for the kitchen. The house was different at night, darker, quieter, but not empty. I could feel the pack's presence like a low hum in my bones, dozens of wolves sleeping under one roof. It should have felt comforting. Instead, it felt like I was trespassing in someone else's home. Someone else's life. I found the kitchen and was rummaging through the fridge when a voice scared me half to death. Can't sleep either? I spun around, heart hammering, to find Marcus sitting at the kitchen table in the dark. He flicked on a small lamp, casting warm light across his weathered face. "Sorry," he said with a slight smile. "Didn't mean to startle you." "It's fine." I grabbed the milk and shut the fridge, then hesitated. "Do you mind if I? It's your kitchen now too." He gestured to the chair across from him. "Or it will be if you stay." I poured myself a glass of milk and sat down, grateful for the company even if the silence that followed was awkward. Marcus had kind eyes, the sort that had seen too much but hadn't hardened because of it. "He's not sleeping either," Marcus said quietly. "In case you were wondering. He's in his office, probably staring at the wall like he's done every night for 3 years." "I'm not trying to hurt him," I said. "I know everyone thinks." "I don't think you're trying to hurt him." Marcus wrapped his hands around his own mug. "But you are hurting him, just by existing. You remind him of what he lost. What he can't have back." "I'm not her." "No, you're not." He studied me carefully. "But you're more like her than you know." Something cold slithered down my spine. "What do you mean?" "Elena was born on November 15th. Sage asked your birthday earlier. You said next month. Wanna guess what day?" My mouth went dry. "November 15th. You have her eyes. Not just the color green with those gold flecks, but the shape, the way they tilt up at the corners. Your voice is different, lower, but there are moments when you say something and I swear I'm hearing her." He leaned back in his chair. "And then there's the pendant. That could all be coincidence." "Could be." He didn't sound convinced. "But wolves don't believe in coincidence. We believe in fate, in moon magic, in bonds that transcend death. And right now, you're looking like fate incarnate." I took a shaky sip of milk. "Do you think I'm her?" "Somehow. I think you're you, Rowan Thorne, raised by Margaret Chin, come here looking for answers. But I also think there's more to your story than either of us knows yet." He stood up, moving to the sink with his mug. "Get some sleep if you can. Tomorrow Sage wants to run some tests, nothing invasive, just blood work, a basic medical exam. And Kieran wants to see you after breakfast." "To interrogate me some more?" "To figure out what the hell is happening to him." Marcus paused at the doorway. "His wolf has been silent for 3 years, Rowan. 3 years of nothing, no shifting, no connection, like half his soul was ripped away. Then you walk in and suddenly his wolf is howling so loud he can barely think straight. That's terrifying for a man who's spent years learning to live in silence." After he left, I sat alone in the kitchen, turning the glass in my hands, thinking about fate and coincidence and the way Kieran had looked at me, like I was breaking him just by breathing. I finally went back to bed around 4, and when I did sleep, I dreamed. The forest was dark, moonless, and I was running. My wolf form felt wrong, too big, too powerful, not mine. Branches whipped past my face, tearing at my fur. Behind me, I could hear them rogues, at least 5, their snarls echoing through the trees. "Elena, fall back." A male voice, desperate. "Get to the border." But I couldn't. There was someone ahead, injured, bleeding. I could smell the blood, thick and sweet, and pack. I had to reach them, had to. The pain came suddenly, teeth in my flank, claws raking down my side. I went down hard, skidding across pine needles and dirt. More teeth, more claws, tearing, ripping. I tried to fight back, but there were too many. And then I felt it, the bond, stretching thin, starting to fray. Kieran. I could feel his wolf screaming, miles away, trying to reach me. I sent everything I had down that bond, love, goodbye, forgiveness for not being strong enough to come home. I woke up screaming. Sage was there in seconds, with Marcus right behind her. They found me tangled in sheets, sobbing, one hand pressed to my side where Dreamclaws had shredded dream flesh. I felt it, I gasped. I felt her die. I felt him, Kieran, I felt his wolf trying to reach her and... "Breathe," Sage ordered, her hands on my shoulders, healer magic flowing warm and green through her touch. "Just breathe, honey. It was a dream." It wasn't just a dream. I looked up at her, tears streaming down my face. It was a memory. Elena's memory. I was her, running through the forest, and the rogues, they killed her. They killed someone she was trying to save. Marcus and Sage exchanged a long look. That's not possible, Marcus said slowly. Unless what? I demanded. Unless you're somehow connected to her. Sage sat down on the edge of the bed. Wolves can inherit memories through bloodlines, but you'd have to be family. Direct family. I'm not family. Margaret said my mother left me on her doorstep. She didn't know who my mother was, just that she was a wolf who needed to hide me. We need to talk to Kieran, Marcus said grimly. Now. But Kieran was already in the doorway, looking like he'd been carved from stone. I heard the screaming. She dreamed of Elena's death, Sage said quietly. Described it accurately, details no one outside the pack knows. Something dangerous flickered across Kieran's face. My office. Now. His office was exactly what I'd expected, all dark wood and leather, books lining the walls, a massive desk covered in pack business. But there was a photo on the shelf that made my heart stop. Elena, laughing, her green eyes bright with joy, her dark hair caught by wind. She looked like me. Not identical, but close enough that we could have been sisters. Close enough that seeing her felt like looking at a ghost of myself. Tell me about the dream, Kieran said, his voice carefully neutral as he poured 3 glasses of whiskey. At my look, he added, trust me, you want the whiskey. I told him everything, the forest, the rogues, the feeling of dying, the bond stretching and breaking. His face stayed blank the whole time, but I could see his hands shaking as he gripped his glass. She was trying to save a young wolf, he said when I finished. 15 years old, out past curfew, got caught by rogues on our border. Elena was on patrol that night. She called for backup, but didn't wait, just went after him. His voice cracked. She saved him. Died doing it. I'm sorry, I whispered. I'm so sorry. Stop apologizing for existing. He drained his whiskey in one swallow. You didn't ask for this any more than I did. What if? I hesitated, then forced myself to continue. What if I'm not just similar to her? What if I am her somehow? Reborn or... No. The word was flat, final. That's not how it works. Wolves don't reincarnate. When we die, we die. But what if there's something we don't know? Sage leaned forward. Kieran, there are stories, old stories, from before we organized into packs. Stories about wolves who loved so fiercely they found ways to come back. Stories aren't real. Magic is real. Mate bonds are real. You've felt it yourself, your wolf recognizes her. What if he knows something we don't? Kieran slammed his glass down hard enough to crack. I won't do this. I won't hope. Do you understand? Hope is what nearly killed me after Elena died. I spent months feeling phantom bond tugs, thinking I'd see her around every corner, dreaming she'd somehow survived. I can't go through that again. Then help me figure out the truth, I said, standing up to face him. Because I'm not leaving until I know who I am. If I'm connected to Elena somehow, I need to understand how. And if I'm not, if this is all some cosmic accident, then you need to let me go so we can both move on. His amber eyes bored into mine. My wolf won't let you go. Then we're both trapped, aren't we? The air between us crackled with tension, with the mate bond pulling tight as a wire. I could see his wolf in his eyes now, pacing, snarling, demanding he close the distance between us. My own wolf was rising to meet it, desperate for her mate, ready to fight for him if needed. I'll make you a deal, Kieran said finally. We investigate. We find out the truth about who you are, how you're connected to Elena, why you're having her memories. But you follow pack rules while you're here, you don't go anywhere alone, and if this turns out to be some kind of trap. It's not. If it is, I won't hesitate to protect my pack. I would never hurt your pack. The words came out fiercer than I intended. Whatever I am, whoever I'm connected to, I'm not here to cause harm. We'll see. He turned to Sage. Start with a full workup, blood work, magical signature, everything. I want to know if there's any trace of dark magic or manipulation. Marcus, have someone pull Elena's personal effects from storage. Maybe there's something we missed. There's something else, Sage said carefully. Elena kept journals. Private ones. I helped her spell them after. After she wrote something she didn't want anyone to find. Not even you, Kieran. His jaw tightened. Where are they? In my workroom. But the spell, only someone with Elena's bloodline or magical signature can open them. Try Rowan, Marcus suggested. If she's having Elena's memories, maybe she can access the journals too. I didn't want to. Something about reading a dead woman's private thoughts felt like a violation. But everyone was looking at me, and I could feel the weight of their hope, their fear, their desperate need for answers. Okay, I said quietly. I'll try. The journals were in Sage's workroom, locked in a wooden box carved with protection runes. There were 5 of them, leather-bound, each one humming with magic when I reached for them. The first 4 wouldn't open. The spell held firm, pushing back against my touch. The 5th one opened the moment my fingers brushed the cover. Impossible, Sage breathed. That spell should have died with her. But I barely heard her. I was staring at the first page, at handwriting that looked nothing like mine but somehow felt familiar. They say fate is written in the stars, but I've learned it's written in blood and magic and sacrifice. The prophecy came to me in a dream last night, the seer's words echoing through my sleep like a warning. 2 souls, 1 destiny. The first must fall so the second can rise. Death is not the end, but the doorway. I don't understand what it means. I don't want to understand. But I can feel it in my bones, something is coming. Something that will break me or remake me. And Kieran, goddess, Kieran will be at the center of it all. My hands were shaking so hard Marcus had to take the journal from me. Keep reading, Kieran said, his voice hollow. Marcus flipped through pages, his expression growing more troubled with every entry. Finally, he stopped at a page marked with a pressed flower and read aloud. The ritual is real. I've confirmed it with 3 different sources, cross-referenced every text in the pack library. 2 souls, 1 destiny. If a wolf dies in sacrifice, protecting the future of their pack, they can be reborn through another. Not reincarnation exactly, but a transfer of essence. Their soul finds a compatible vessel, someone not yet born, someone connected to the pack through blood or fate. They carry pieces of the first wolf's memories, abilities, even appearance. But they're not the same person. There's something new. Something stronger. The room was dead silent. Elena knew, Sage whispered. She knew about the prophecy and she went on that patrol anyway. She sacrificed herself, Marcus said, looking at me with something like awe. Not just to save that kid, but to trigger the ritual. To be reborn. No. Kieran's voice was raw. No, she wouldn't have left me on purpose. She wouldn't have. She didn't have a choice. I could feel it now, the truth settling into my bones like it had always been there. The prophecy said the first must fall so the second can rise. She saw the future, saw what was coming, and she made the choice to save everyone. Save everyone from what? Marcus demanded. I opened my mouth to answer, but that's when we heard it, howls in the distance, getting closer. Not pack howls. Enemy howls. Kieran's head snapped up, his wolf surging to the surface. Blood Moon Clan. They're on our border. How did they know to attack now? Sage was already moving, grabbing supplies, preparing for wounded. They've been watching us for months, Marcus said grimly, heading for the door. Waiting for the moment Kieran was weakest. But I'm not weak anymore. Kieran looked at me, and for the first time, I saw something besides horror in his eyes. Fear, yes, and confusion, but also hope. Terrible, fragile hope. My wolf is awake. Then let's use it, I said, even though my heart was hammering. What do you need me to do? Stay here. Stay safe. If anything happens to you, I'm not helpless. My own wolf was rising now, eager, ready. I've been alone my whole life. I know how to fight. You're not alone anymore. Marcus's voice was soft. Your pack now, whether you meant to be or not. Something warm unfurled in my chest at those words, but there was no time to examine it. The howls were getting closer, and I could hear shouts from outside, pack members mobilizing for battle. Kieran moved to the door, then stopped. He looked back at me, and the emotion in his eyes made my breath catch. Don't die, he said simply. Elena's journal says you're supposed to rise. So don't you dare die on me before I figure out what the hell that means. Same to you, I whispered. He left, Marcus right behind him, and I was alone with Sage as she gathered medical supplies with practiced efficiency. Am I really her? I asked, my voice small. Pieces of her inside me? I don't know, honey. Sage paused long enough to squeeze my shoulder. But I know you're you. Whatever else you are, whoever else's soul you carry, you're Rowan Thorne. Don't forget that. The first casualties arrived 10 minutes later, 3 wolves, bleeding, one with a torn throat that had Sage cursing as she worked to save him. I helped where I could, fetching supplies, holding pressure on wounds, trying not to think about Kieran out there fighting. Trying not to feel the mate bond stretching tight as he moved farther from the house. More wounded came. Then more. The Blood Moon clan had come in force, hitting the pack harder than anyone expected. We were holding them off, but barely. That's when Marcus stumbled through the door, blood streaming down his face, his arm hanging at an odd angle. They're pushing through the eastern border, he gasped as Sage rushed to him. Kieran's trying to hold them, but there are too many. They're heading this way, toward the house. Why the house? Sage demanded, magic already flowing into Marcus, knitting bone and tissue. Because they know. Marcus looked at me, and his eyes were full of something I couldn't quite name. They know about Rowan. About what she represents. And they want her dead before Kieran can claim her. My blood ran cold. How would they know? I've only been here one day. Someone told them. Marcus's voice was bitter. Someone in this pack told Blood Moon that Kieran's mate had returned. A traitor. There was a traitor in the pack. Rowan, you need to run, Sage said urgently. Get to the safe room in the basement. Now. But it was too late. The window exploded inward, glass spraying everywhere, and 3 wolves came through, massive, snarling, their eyes fixed on me with predatory hunger. I shifted without thinking, my wolf taking over, ready to fight. But even as my bones cracked and reformed, even as I felt my claws extend and my senses sharpen, I knew the truth. 3 against 1. I wasn't going to win this. The first wolf lunged, and I met it with teeth and fury, Elena's battle instincts flooding through me like they'd always been mine. Maybe they had been. Maybe I'd been training for this fight my entire life without knowing it. The prophecy echoed in my mind as I fought. 2 souls, 1 destiny. The first must fall so the second can rise. Elena had fallen. Now it was my turn to rise. I just hoped I'd live long enough to figure out how. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 3. The first wolf hit me like a wrecking ball, 300 pounds of muscle and rage driving me backward into Sage's work table. Glass vials shattered, herbs scattered, and I tasted blood in my mouth as my teeth clacked together from the impact. But Elena's instincts were already moving through me, ancient and sure. I twisted mid-fall, using the wolf's momentum against him, claws raking across his exposed belly as I rolled away. He yelped and stumbled, giving me the second I needed to regain my footing. The other 2 circled, more cautious now, their lips pulled back in silent snarls. Through the broken window, I could hear more fighting outside, howls and screams, and the sick crunch of bone meeting bone. The full moon blazed overhead, making everything sharp and clear and terrible. 2 souls, 1 destiny. I didn't know if the thought was mine or Elena's, but it steadied me. My wolf settled into a fighting stance I'd never learned, but somehow knew perfectly, weight balanced, muscles coiled, ready to explode into action. The wolves attacked together. I met them with a fury I didn't know I possessed. Teeth found fur and flesh. Claws tore and rent. I moved like water, like wind, like something wild and dangerous that had been caged too long. One wolf went down hard, his leg snapping with a sound that made even me flinch. The other managed to get his jaws around my shoulder, and white-hot pain blazed through me. Then he was flying backward, torn away by a wolf twice his size, midnight black with amber eyes that blazed with recognition and rage. Kieran. His wolf was magnificent, massive and powerful, every inch the alpha. He tore into the blood moon wolves with single-minded violence, driving them back toward the broken window. But more were coming through now, drawn by the scent of blood and battle. Too many. There were too many. Together, something whispered in my mind. Not my voice. Not quite Elena's. Something between us, something new. Fight together. I didn't question it. I just moved, falling into sync with Kieran's wolf like we'd been fighting side by side for years. When he went high, I went low. When he drove them left, I cut off their escape to the right. Our wolves moved like two parts of a whole, anticipating each other's attacks, covering each other's weaknesses. It was beautiful and terrifying and felt more right than anything in my entire life. The mate bond sang between us, growing stronger with every synchronized strike, every moment of perfect trust. I could feel his wolf in my mind now, not thoughts exactly, but emotions, instincts, the fierce joy of protecting what was his. Of protecting me. More pack wolves were arriving, drawn by their alpha's call. Marcus shifted and threw himself into the fray despite his injuries, along with a dozen others I didn't know. The blood moon wolves started retreating, realizing they were outnumbered. But the one-eyed injured, the first one who'd attacked me, wasn't done. He was limping, bleeding, but his eyes were fixed on me with murderous intent. He lunged one more time, going for my throat. Kieran's wolf hit him mid-leap. They went down in a tangle of fur and fury. Kieran's jaws locked around the other wolf's throat. For a moment, the blood moon wolf struggled, then went still. The silence that followed was deafening. Kieran's wolf stood over the body, sides heaving, blood on his muzzle. His eyes found mine across the destroyed workroom, and something passed between us, relief, recognition, the beginning of acceptance. Then he shifted back to human form, magnificent and naked and still staring at me like he couldn't quite believe what had just happened. I shifted too, suddenly aware of my own nakedness, the various cuts and bruises covering my skin, the way my whole body was shaking with adrenaline crash. You fought like her, Kieran said hoarsely. Exactly like her. That move with the momentum redirect, the way you covered my left side, that was Elena's style. I know. I wrapped my arms around myself, trying to stop shaking. I could feel it. Her knowledge, her training. It was just there. Someone handed us blankets. Sage was already moving among the wounded, her healing magic flowing bright and green in the moonlight. The pack had driven off the blood moon wolves, but the cost was written in blood and broken bodies. Why did they come tonight? I asked. Why target me specifically? Because they're not idiots. Marcus limped over, human now, one arm in a makeshift sling. They've been waiting for years for Kieran to show weakness. Then suddenly his wolf wakes up, mate bond snapping into place with someone who just appeared out of nowhere. They saw an opportunity to kill me before the bond could be completed. I looked at Kieran. Before I could make you stronger. It would have worked too if you didn't know how to fight. Kieran's voice was rough with something that might have been admiration. Where did you learn? Margaret. I never learned. That's the thing, I've never had formal combat training. I could defend myself, but nothing like whatever that was. I gestured helplessly at the carnage. That was Elena. Not just Elena. Sage approached, her hands glowing with residual healing magic. I felt something when you two were fighting together. The mate bond was activating abilities, yes, but also creating something new. Your wolves were sharing instincts, memories, strength. That's not normal, even for mated pairs. Nothing about this is normal, Kieran muttered. He looked at me, really looked at me, and for the first time since I'd arrived, there was no horror in his eyes. Just exhaustion and confusion and a fragile sort of wonder. We need to talk. Privately. He led me to his office, both of us still wrapped in blankets, leaving bloody footprints on the hardwood floors. Someone would clean it up later. Right now, the pack was busy with wounded and securing the borders against another attack. Kieran poured whiskey with shaking hands and passed me a glass. We drank in silence, standing by the window, watching the full moon that had witnessed so much violence. My wolf wants to complete the bond, he said finally. Right now. He's been howling at me since the moment you shifted back, demanding I claim you, mark you, make you undeniably ours. My breath caught. But But I'm not sure I can do that to you. He turned to face me, and the anguish in his eyes made my chest ache. You deserve a mate who chooses you for you, not because his wolf is desperate and his dead mate's soul is somehow tangled up in yours. You deserve someone who can love you without comparing you to a ghost. And you can't do that. I don't know. His voice cracked. 3 years, Rowan. 3 years of grief so deep I wanted to die every single day. The only thing that kept me alive was responsibility to the pack. And now you're here, and my wolf is alive again, and I can feel the bond trying to complete itself, but I'm terrified. Terrified of hope. Terrified of losing you like I lost her. Terrified that I'll wake up tomorrow and you'll be gone, and I'll have to survive that death all over again. I set down my glass and moved closer to him, close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin, to smell the wolf musk and blood and whiskey. I'm scared too. I came here looking for answers about my mother, and instead I found a mate bond, a dead woman's memories, and a pack that looks at me like I'm either a miracle or a threat. I don't know who I am anymore, Kieran. But I know what I felt tonight when we fought together. That was real. That was right. It was, he admitted. His hand came up, hesitating, then cupped my cheek with a gentleness that made my eyes burn. You were incredible. Fierce and brave and so damn strong. Elena would have liked you, I think. If things were different. If things were different, we wouldn't be standing here. No. His thumb traced my cheekbone, and I leaned into the touch despite myself. We wouldn't. The air between us thickened, charged with more than just the mate bond. His eyes dropped to my lips, and I could see the war raging behind them, grief versus desire, past versus present, death versus life. He leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. Our lips met in a kiss that was gentle at first, tentative, like we were both afraid of breaking something fragile. Then his wolf surged forward and mine rose to meet it, and suddenly the kiss was desperate, hungry. 3 years of loneliness and loss trying to heal themselves through touch. The mate bond flared between us, so intense it was almost painful. I could feel his wolf demanding completion, feel my own wolf crying out in answer. It would be so easy. Just let go, let the bond snap into place, let the magic take over. Kieran pulled away with a choked sound, putting distance between us like I'd burned him. I can't. The words were ragged. Rowan, I'm sorry, I can't. It's okay. It wasn't, but what else could I say? I understand. Do you? He looked at me with eyes full of self-loathing. Because I don't. My wolf is screaming at me to complete the bond. Every instinct I have says you're mine, but my heart, he pressed his fist against his chest. My heart is still buried with Elena. And I don't know if there's room for anyone else. The words shouldn't have hurt as much as they did. I'd known, from the moment I saw the photo of Elena, that I was walking into a situation where I'd always be compared to a ghost. But hearing him say it out loud made it real in a way I wasn't prepared for. I should go, I said quietly. Let you rest. It's been a long night. Rowan. It's fine, Kieran. Really. I pulled the blanket tighter around myself and moved toward the door. Thank you for saving my life tonight. Your wolf he's incredible. Elena was lucky to have him. I left before he could respond, before I could see the guilt and relief warring on his face, before I could do something stupid like cry or beg or try to convince him I could be enough. The house was quieter now. The wounded had been treated, the dead honored, the border secured. I made my way back to my room, passing pack members who nodded respectfully or looked away, uncomfortable with the new dynamics I represented. I was almost to the stairs when I heard voices coming from the library, low, urgent, trying to be quiet. I should have kept walking. Should have given them privacy. But I heard Kieran's name, and my feet stopped moving. Can't keep lying to him. That was Marcus, his voice tight with stress. Not after tonight. Not after what happened with Rowan. We don't have a choice. An older voice, gravelly. Thomas, Kieran's most trusted advisor. If he learns the truth about that night, it'll destroy what's left of this pack. He has a right to know his mate was murdered by one of his own people. The world tilted sideways. Keep your voice down, Thomas hissed. Elena's death had to look like a rogue attack. The conspiracy. The conspiracy has been eating away at you for 3 years, Thomas. At both of us. We were there. We saw what really happened, and we've done nothing. Because the alternative is civil war. Thomas's voice rose despite himself. The wolves who killed Elena, who wanted Kieran weak and vulnerable, they're still in this pack. Still in positions of power. If we expose them without proof, without a plan, they'll tear everything apart. My hand found the wall, keeping me upright. Elena hadn't died in a random rogue attack. She'd been murdered. By pack members. By wolves who lived here, ate here, swore loyalty to Kieran while keeping the truth of his mate's death hidden. Rowan changes things, Marcus said quietly. Her presence, the bond, Kieran's getting stronger. Strong enough to face the truth, maybe. Strong enough to root out the traitors. Or strong enough to get himself killed trying. Thomas sighed heavily. We wait. We watch. And we pray that girl really is what she seems to be, because if she's part of this conspiracy too. She's not, Marcus said sharply. I'd stake my life on it. You might have to. I forced myself to move, to walk away before they realized I was listening. My mind was spinning, pieces clicking into place. The attack tonight hadn't just been about killing me, it had been about preventing Kieran from getting strong enough to uncover the truth. Someone in this pack had murdered Elena. Someone here wanted Kieran weak. And that same someone had probably told Blood Moon Clan about my arrival. The traitor was still here. I made it to my room and locked the door with shaking hands. I needed to think, needed to process, needed to figure out what to do with this information. Should I tell Kieran? But Marcus and Thomas were right. Without proof, accusing pack members would only create chaos. I paced the room, my wolf restless and anxious, the mate bond still humming under my skin from that almost kiss. Kieran's words echoed in my mind. My heart is still buried with Elena. Maybe it always would be. Maybe I'd never be more than a convenient substitute, a replacement mate his wolf needed but his heart didn't want. The journal said Elena had sacrificed herself, had triggered some kind of ritual that put pieces of her soul into me. But I was still me, still Rowan, raised alone, never quite fitting in anywhere. And now I was supposed to be the answer to a pack's prayers, the key to making their alpha whole again, all while knowing he'd never love me the way he loved her. I was so lost in my thoughts I didn't hear the window open behind me. Didn't sense the presence until a cloth was pressed over my mouth and nose, and the sickly sweet smell of chloroform filled my lungs. I tried to shift, tried to fight, but my limbs were already going numb. Through the haze, I saw a figure, tall, hooded, moving with practiced efficiency. Not Blood Moon. The scent was wrong. Pack. This was someone from Kieran's pack. The traitor. Kieran, I tried to send down the bond, tried to scream for help. But the drug was pulling me under, darkness closing in fast. The last thing I heard was a male voice, cold and satisfied. The Blood Moon Alpha wants to meet you, little wolf. He says it's time you learn the truth about who you really are. Then nothing. I woke to the smell of pine and damp earth and something metallic that might have been blood. My head was pounding, my mouth tasted like chemicals, and my hands were bound behind my back with silver-laced rope that burned against my skin. Not good. I was in a cabin small, sparse, with boarded-up windows and a single door. Moonlight filtered through the cracks, meaning I hadn't been out long. The full moon was still up, which meant Kieran's pack would be able to track me if they realized I was gone. If the traitor hadn't covered their tracks. The door opened and a man walked in. He was tall, maybe 40, with silver threading through his dark hair and eyes like chips of ice. Power rolled off him in waves, alpha power, old and confident and dangerous. Rowan Thorne, he said, his voice surprisingly cultured. I'm Darius Black, Alpha of the Blood Moon Clan. I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but I'm afraid Kieran Blackwood wouldn't have let you come willingly. You attacked his pack, I said, my voice rough from the drugs. Killed his people. Why would I come willingly? Because I have answers about who you are. Real answers, not the fairy tale Elena left in her journals. He pulled up a chair and sat down, studying me like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. Tell me, Rowan, has anyone explained to you why you look exactly like Elena Blackwood? Why you share her birthday, her abilities, her fighting style? The ritual. 2 souls, 1 destiny. Elena sacrificed herself and her essence transferred. That's what she believed, yes. What the prophecy told her. Darius's smile was sharp. But prophecies lie, little wolf. Or rather, they tell partial truths, and we fill in the blanks with what we want to hear. Ice filled my veins. What are you saying? I'm saying Elena didn't transfer her soul into a random unborn wolf. He leaned forward, his eyes glittering in the moonlight. She transferred it into her daughter. The world stopped. That's impossible. I'm 23. Elena died 3 years ago. The math doesn't. The math works perfectly if you understand what really happened. Darius pulled out a photograph and held it up. A young woman, barely 20, with dark hair and green eyes. She looked like Elena. She looked like me. This is Sarah Chen, Margaret Chen's daughter. She died 24 years ago in childbirth. The baby survived. No, but my voice was shaking. Margaret never mentioned. Margaret was protecting you. Sarah was wolf-born but lived among humans. She met a wolf named Jonathan Blackwood at an Interpack gathering. They had one night together. 9 months later, Sarah died giving birth to a baby girl with green eyes and her father's silver pendant around her neck. He paused, letting the words sink in. Jonathan Blackwood was Elena's older brother. He died in a car accident 2 weeks before Sarah gave birth, never knowing he had a daughter. You're lying. But the pieces were clicking into place with horrible clarity. The pendant. Margaret's protectiveness. The way Elena's magic had recognized me, why the journal had opened for me. Elena was your aunt, Rowan. When she saw the prophecy, when she understood what was coming, she made a choice. She knew her death would trigger the ritual, but she also knew it needed a compatible vessel, someone with Blackwood blood, someone connected to the pack through family. You were already here, already part of the bloodline. She just accelerated the process. Why are you telling me this? My voice was barely a whisper. Why do you care? Because Kieran Blackwood doesn't deserve you. Darius stood, pacing the small cabin. Elena was my mate first, did you know that? We were childhood friends, promised to each other by our packs. Then Kieran came along with his alpha charm and his pretty words, and she chose him over me. Over her own pack. The betrayal nearly destroyed Blood Moon. It certainly destroyed me. So this is revenge? You kill Elena, you try to kill me, you tear apart Kieran's pack, all because a woman chose someone else. I didn't kill Elena. His voice was cold. Your own pack did that. Wolves who wanted Kieran weakened, who saw an opportunity in her death. I simply made sure the rogues who attacked her got the information they needed about her patrol route. And when the ritual activated, when I learned you existed, I decided to finish what they started. You're insane. I'm practical. He crouched down in front of me, his face inches from mine. You have a choice, Rowan. Come with me willingly. Join Blood Moon. I can teach you to control Elena's memories, her abilities. You'll be cherished, protected, valued for who you are, not as a replacement for a dead mate. Or you can go back to Kieran, back to a man who just told you his heart is buried with Elena, and spend the rest of your life being second best. You were listening. Realization hit me. You had someone in the house. The traitor. Has been very useful, yes? Darius smiled. So what's it going to be? Will you choose the alpha who will always love a ghost more than you? Or will you choose freedom? I looked at him, at this man who'd orchestrated Elena's death out of jealousy and spite, who'd attacked Kieran's pack and kidnapped me, and was now offering salvation wrapped in poison. I choose. The cabin door exploded inward. Kieran stood in the doorway, his wolf so close to the surface his eyes were pure amber, his body vibrating with barely contained violence. Behind him, I could see Marcus and a dozen pack wolves, all shifted, all ready for blood. You took my mate, Kieran said, his voice barely human. Bad choice. Darius moved fast, silver knife appearing in his hand, pressing against my throat before anyone could react. One more step and she dies. Again. The wolves froze. You don't want to do this, Darius, Marcus said carefully. You're outnumbered. Outmatched. Let her go and maybe we let you walk away. I don't think so. The knife pressed harder, and I felt a trickle of blood run down my neck. I think Kieran is going to watch another mate die. And this time, he won't survive it. Kieran's eyes met mine across the cabin. The mate bond was singing between us, terror and fury and desperate love, yes, love. I could feel it now, raw and new and more real than any ghost. Trust me, I sent down the bond. Elena's memories. I know what to do. I saw the moment he understood. The moment he chose to trust. I moved. Elena's combat training flooded through me as I dropped my weight, twisted, brought my bound hands up and back hard into Darius's groin. He grunted, the knife faltering, and I threw myself forward out of his grip. Kieran was on him before he could recover. They went down in a tangle of claws and teeth, alpha versus alpha, old grudges and new rage colliding with savage violence. The other wolves surged into the cabin, but Darius had brought backup, blood moon wolves appearing from the shadows, and suddenly the small space was chaos. Marcus cut through my bonds with careful claws, and I shifted immediately, throwing myself into the fight beside my mate. Because that's what he was, bond completed or not. That's what I'd chosen, even knowing I might always be compared to Elena. Kieran and Darius were still fighting, blood on both their muzzles, neither giving ground. But Kieran was stronger now, his wolf fully awake, the mate bond giving him power he hadn't had in years. I could feel it thrumming between us, feeding him strength, and suddenly I understood. This was what Elena had meant. The ritual, the prophecy, it wasn't just about bringing her back. It was about making sure Kieran would be strong enough to survive what was coming. To defeat enemies like Darius. To root out the traitors in his own pack. 2 souls, 1 destiny. And ours was just beginning. Kieran's jaws closed around Darius's throat. 1 twist, and it was over. The blood moon wolves scattered, leaderless, defeated. The Black Pine Pack gave chase, driving them back toward their own territory. But Kieran shifted back to human form, chest heaving, covered in blood, his eyes finding me immediately. Are you hurt? I'm okay. I shifted too, suddenly aware of my nakedness, the cuts and bruises, the way my whole body was shaking. Kieran, he told me things about Elena, about who I am. I know. He crossed the distance between us and pulled me into his arms, holding me so tight I could barely breathe. Marcus told me everything on the way here. About Elena being your aunt, about the conspiracy, all of it. I know. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be. Don't. He pulled back just enough to look at me, his hands framing my face. Don't apologize for existing, Rowan. Don't apologize for being exactly who you're supposed to be. I was wrong to push you away, wrong to compare you to a ghost, wrong to think I could survive without you. My wolf knew the truth before I did. You're not Elena. You're better. You're real and alive and mine if you'll still have me. Even though I carry pieces of her? Because you carry pieces of her. His voice was fierce. Because she loved me enough to find a way to give me a second chance. Because fate brought you to my door even when I was too broken to deserve you. Because when I thought I might lose you tonight, I realized the truth. My heart isn't buried with Elena anymore. It's right here, terrified and hopeful and beating for you. Tears streamed down my face. I heard what you told Thomas. That you'd never love me like. I was lying to myself. Trying to protect us both from more pain. He kissed my forehead, my cheeks, my lips, gentle touches full of promise. I love you, Rowan Thorne. Not because of who you used to be, but because of who you are. Fierce and brave and willing to fight for a pack that wasn't sure they wanted you. Will you stay? Will you let me complete the bond and spend the rest of my life proving I choose you? Yes, I whispered. Yes to all of it. He kissed me then, really kissed me, and the mate bond exploded between us like a supernova. I could feel it clicking into place, permanent and unbreakable, tying my soul to his in ways I'd never imagined. His wolf and mine sang in harmony, and somewhere deep inside, I felt Elena's essence settle, not controlling me, not replacing me, but becoming part of me. Part of us. Thank you, I sent to whatever remained of her. For the sacrifice. For the second chance. For him. I felt her answer like a warm breeze, like sunlight through leaves. Love him better than I could. Love him without fear. That's all I ever wanted. Then she faded, becoming memory instead of presence, and I was just Rowan again, but Rowan who knew how to fight like a warrior, Rowan who carried the strength of two souls, Rowan who'd found her place in a pack that needed her, Rowan who'd found her mate. We still have problems, Kieran murmured against my lips. A traitor in the pack. Conspirators who want me dead. Pack politics to navigate. I know. I smiled despite everything. But we'll face it together. That's what mates do. That's what mates do, he agreed. Marcus cleared his throat from the doorway, carefully not looking at our naked embrace. Sorry to interrupt, but we should get back to the pack house. And there's something you both need to know. About the traitor. Kieran's arms tightened around me. Who is it? Thomas. Marcus's voice was heavy with regret. He confessed everything on the way here, how he helped orchestrate Elena's death, how he's been working with faction in the pack that wants to overthrow you, how he told Darius about Rowan's arrival. He's asking to face pack justice. The man who'd been Kieran's trusted advisor for years. The man who'd counseled him through his grief. The man who'd helped kill his mate. Take him to the cells, Kieran said quietly. We'll deal with him tomorrow. Tonight. He looked down at me, and despite the blood and the pain and the betrayal, his eyes were full of hope. Tonight I'm claiming my mate. About damn time, I said, and kissed him again as the full moon witnessed our beginning. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 4. The claiming was everything and nothing like I'd imagined. Kieran carried me back to the pack house in his arms, both of us still naked, still covered in blood and dirt and the aftermath of battle. The pack members we passed either averted their eyes respectfully or smiled with genuine happiness. Their alpha was whole again, and that meant the pack was whole too. He took me to his room, our room now, I supposed, and we stood under the shower together, washing away the violence of the night. His hands were gentle as they moved over my skin, cataloging every cut and bruise, his wolf growling softly at each injury. I can feel you, I whispered as he carefully cleaned blood from my hair. In my head, in my chest, everywhere. Is it always like this? For the first few days, yes. The bond settles eventually, becomes more like background music than a symphony. His fingers trace the mark on my neck where Darius's knife had drawn blood. But I'll always feel you, Rowan. Your emotions, your pain, your joy. We're connected now in ways that go beyond the physical. I can feel your guilt. I turned in his arms, meeting his amber eyes. About Thomas, about not seeing the betrayal sooner. It's not your fault. He was my friend. My advisor. I trusted him with pack secrets, with Elena's memory, with everything. His voice was rough. How did I not see it? Because you loved him. Because you were grieving. Because sometimes the people closest to us are the best at hiding their true faces. I touched his cheek, feeling stubble rough against my palm. We'll deal with Thomas tomorrow. Tonight is ours. He kissed me then, slow and deep, and we made it to the bed before the need became overwhelming. The mate bond completion was intense, not just physical pleasure, but a melding of souls, of wolves, of two broken people finding wholeness in each other. When Kieran bit down on my shoulder, marking me as his, I felt Elena's essence rise one last time, a ghostly hand pressing over our joined ones in blessing. Be happy, she whispered. Both of you. Then she was gone, truly gone, leaving only her memories and skills behind like a gift. I marked Kieran in return, my teeth sinking into the junction of his neck and shoulder, tasting his blood and his wolf and claiming him as mine. His wolf howled in triumph, and mine answered, and somewhere in the pack house, other wolves howled too, celebrating their alpha's mate, welcoming me into the fold. Afterward, we lay tangled together, the mate bond finally complete, humming contentedly between us. I love you, Kieran murmured against my hair. I should have said it earlier, should have. You said it when it mattered. I pressed a kiss to his chest, right over his heart. That's enough. We slept for a few hours, wrapped in each other and the security of the completed bond. But dawn came too soon, bringing with it the harsh reality of what we still faced. Thomas was in the cells beneath the pack house, waiting for judgment. There were other conspirators to root out. And I still didn't fully understand what I was, Elena's niece carrying her aunt's wolf soul, two beings merged into something new. Kieran called a pack meeting for noon, wanting everyone present for Thomas's confession and sentencing. But first, we had to question the traitor, understand the full scope of the conspiracy. Marcus met us outside the cells, his face grim. He's been talking all night. You're not going to like what he has to say. Thomas looked like he'd aged a decade overnight. His silver hair was disheveled, his eyes hollow, and his hands shook as we approached his cell. But there was relief there too, the relief of someone who'd been carrying a terrible secret for too long. Alpha, he said quietly. Rowan. I'm glad you're both safe. Are you? Kieran's voice was cold as winter. Because you're the reason we were in danger in the first place. I know. Thomas slumped against the wall. I know what I did. What I've done for 3 years. And I'm ready to face pack justice. But first, you need to understand the full truth. About Elena's death. About Rowan. About what's really been happening in this pack. Then talk, I said, crossing my arms. And it better be the truth this time. Thomas took a shaky breath. It started 5 years ago. Your sister, Kieran Celine, came to me with concerns about your leadership. She said you were too soft, too focused on peace treaties and alliances, that you'd lost the aggressive edge that made Black Pine strong. I dismissed her at first. But she was persistent, and she was convincing, and eventually, I started to see her point. Kieran's whole body went rigid. Celine. My sister is behind this. Not just behind it. She orchestrated all of it. Thomas's voice was hollow. She found a witch, a dark practitioner named Morgana, who specialized in soul magic. Together, they devised a plan. Kill Elena in a way that would break you completely, leaving you as a hollow alpha that Celine could eventually challenge and replace. The ritual I breathed. The one that was supposed to kill Elena's wolf permanently. Yes, but Morgana underestimated Elena's strength, her connection to the old magic. When the rogues attacked, following patrol routes that Celine provided, Elena's human body died, but her wolf. Thomas looked at me. Her wolf escaped. Fled into the spirit realm, looking for a compatible vessel. Someone with Blackwood blood who could house her essence. Me. My legs felt weak. But I've had my wolf since I was 20. I remember my first shift, the pain of it, the freedom. Do you? Thomas asked gently. Or do you remember Elena's first shift? Her memories of what it felt like to embrace the wolf. I opened my mouth to argue, then stopped. The memories were there, clear as day. Running through the forest, feeling the wind in my fur, the pack bond settling into place. But those weren't Black Pine pack bonds. Those were different. Older. I was wolfless, I whispered. Before 3 years ago, I was wolfless. Margaret never told you because she didn't understand what had happened. One day you were human, struggling with being the only wolfless child she'd ever raised. The next, you were shifting perfectly, like you'd been doing it your whole life. Thomas's eyes were sad. Elena's wolf found you and merged with your human soul. You're not Elena reborn, you're something entirely unique. A human soul paired with a wolf soul that used to belong to someone else. The room spun. All those memories I'd thought were mine, learning to hunt, fighting techniques, the feeling of pack, had been Elena's. I'd been living with her wolf for 3 years and never known it. Why didn't the wolf tell me? I asked. Why didn't I know? Because trauma, Sage's voice came from the corridor. She must have been listening. When a wolf's soul transfers like that, it's usually dormant at first, protecting itself while it heals. Elena's wolf was injured, grieving, broken from being severed from her mate bond. She needed time to recover. By the time she was strong enough to communicate, you two had already merged so completely that you couldn't tell where you ended and she began. That's why I had her combat skills, I said slowly. Why I could fight like her, move like her. It wasn't just memories, it was instinct. Her wolf's instinct. And that's why Kieran's wolf recognized you, Marcus added. Because Elena's wolf was there, calling to him, even if neither of you understood it consciously. Kieran had been silent through all of this, his face carved from stone. Now he spoke, his voice dangerous. Where is Celine? That's the problem, Thomas said. She disappeared last night, right after the Blood Moon attack failed. She knows her conspiracy is unraveling. And she took Morgana with her. Find her. Kieran's command cracked like a whip. Turn this pack upside down if you have to. I want my sister found and brought to me. She'll answer for what she's done. Marcus nodded and left quickly, already pulling out his phone to coordinate search teams. I moved closer to Kieran, feeling his rage and grief through the bond. I'm sorry. I know she's your sister. She killed my mate. Tried to kill you. Betrayed everything our family stood for. His hands clenched into fists. She's not my sister anymore. She's a traitor, and she'll be treated as such. We'll find her, I promised. And we'll make sure she faces justice. But even as I said it, something prickled at the back of my mind. Elena's wolf stirred uneasily, and suddenly I was flooded with a memory that wasn't mine. Celine, younger, beautiful, standing in a forest clearing with a woman whose hands glowed with dark purple magic. You're sure this will work? Celine asked. The ritual is old, but powerful, Morgana replied. When Elena dies, her wolf will be severed from her mate bond. Kieran will break. And you'll finally have what should have been yours all along, the alpha position. And if Elena's wolf doesn't die with her body, then it will be lost, wandering the spirit realm forever. Either way, your brother loses. I gasped, the vision releasing me. They're not running. They're preparing. Preparing for what? Kieran demanded. To finish what they started. I grabbed his arm. Elena's wolf showed me a memory, Celine and Morgana, planning the original ritual. They thought when Elena died, her wolf would be permanently severed. But it survived, found me, and now the mate bond has reconnected. That's not what they wanted. They need to break the bond again, permanently this time. By killing you, Sage said grimly. If you die, Elena's wolf dies with you. And this time, there's no compatible vessel waiting. Kieran's wolf would go dormant again, maybe forever. Then we don't let them kill her. Kieran pulled me close, his wolf rising protectively. We find Celine first, end this conspiracy, and make sure my mate stays exactly where she belongs, alive and by my side. The pack meeting was tense. Over 200 wolves gathered in the main hall, all of them feeling the weight of what had happened. Kieran stood at the front with me beside him, his hand firmly clasped around mine, presenting a united front. Thomas was brought up from the cells, and Kieran laid out his crimes in stark detail: conspiracy, murder, betrayal of the pack. The sentence was death, as it had to be for crimes this severe. But Kieran, in a show of mercy that surprised everyone, offered Thomas a choice: die by execution or die in combat attempting to help capture Celine. Thomas chose combat. Redemption through action, even if it led to death. There's one more thing you all need to know, Kieran said, his voice carrying through the hall. Rowan is not just my mate. She carries the wolf soul of Elena Blackwood, my first mate, merged with her own human soul. She is something unique, something powerful, and she is under my protection. Anyone who threatens her threatens me directly. The pack rumbled with shock and wonder. I could feel their eyes on me, assessing, judging, trying to understand what I was. I know this is strange, I said, finding my voice. Trust me, it's strange for me too. But I'm not here to replace Elena or take something that isn't mine. I'm here because fate led me here, because this pack is my family now, and because I'll fight beside you to protect it. That's all I can promise. One by one, the pack members began to bow their heads in acceptance. Not all of them. I could feel pockets of resistance, wolves who thought I was an abomination or a threat. But enough. Enough to give us a foundation to build on. The meeting was just breaking up when the scouts came running in, breathless and panicked. Alpha. Blood Moon pack at the border, but they're not attacking. Their beta is asking for a parley. Says he has information about your sister and the witch. Says he wants to talk to Rowan specifically. Kieran and I exchanged glances. It's a trap, he said flatly. Probably, I agreed. But we need information. Let me go talk to them. Not without me. I wouldn't dream of it. We met the Blood Moon beta at the border, with Marcus and 20 of our best warriors as backup. The beta was a grizzled man with scars crossing his face, and he looked exhausted. Darius is dead, he said without preamble. Which means Blood Moon needs a new alpha. And before he died, he told some of us the truth about who you are, Rowan. I know who I am, I said carefully. Kieran's mate, Elena's niece. Darius's daughter. The world stopped. That's not possible, Kieran growled. Rowan's father was Jonathan Blackwood. Jonathan Blackwood was her mother's mate, yes. But Sarah Chin had been with Darius first, years before, when she was traveling between packs. She left him when she discovered she was pregnant, knowing Darius would never let her raise the child among humans the way she wanted. The beta pulled out an envelope. Darius kept her letters, DNA test results, everything. He's been searching for his daughter for 20 years. I took the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were letters in feminine handwriting detailing a relationship between Sarah and Darius, an unexpected pregnancy, and the difficult choice to leave and raise the child away from pack politics. And there, at the bottom, was a DNA test comparing my blood to Darius's. 99.9% probability of paternity. No, I whispered. No, this can't be, I killed him. Last night, Kieran killed him because of me. Because he was threatening you, Kieran said firmly. Because he was an enemy. That doesn't change. But he was my father. The words felt surreal. He was my father, and I helped kill him. He was a man who orchestrated Elena's death out of jealousy, who attacked our pack, who would have killed you if given the chance, Kieran countered. Being your biological father doesn't erase that. The beta cleared his throat. There's more. Blood Moon Pack elders have decided that if you're Darius's heir, you have a claim to the alpha position. They're willing to set aside the feud, establish peace between our packs, if you'll come lead them. What? I stared at him. I can't, I mated to Kieran. I'm part of Black Pine now. You could be part of both, the beta said carefully. A mated pair leading two allied packs. It's been done before, centuries ago. Or you could name a proxy alpha for Blood Moon, guide them from a distance while staying with your mate. The point is, you have a choice. And you have a family waiting for you if you want them. The family I never had. The belonging I'd searched for my whole life. It was being offered on a silver platter. All I had to do was accept that I was the daughter of a man who'd hurt people I cared about. I need time, I said hoarsely. To think, to process. You have one day, the beta said. After that, Blood Moon will choose a new alpha from within, and the offer disappears. Choose wisely, Rowan Blackwood. He left, taking his warriors with him, and I stood at the border feeling like my identity was unraveling again. I don't know what to do, I admitted to Kieran. Every time I think I understand who I am, something new appears. Then we figure it out together, he said simply. That's what mates do. But we didn't get the chance to figure anything out. Because that's when the scouts came running again, this time with worse news. Celine's been spotted in Blood Moon territory. She's offering them a deal, help her kill Rowan, and she'll give them access to Morgana's magic. Enough power to destroy Black Pine completely. And, just like that, our one day became a countdown to war. We raced back to the pack house, already formulating plans, calling in allies, preparing for what was coming. But we weren't fast enough. The attack came at sunset, when the pack was at its most vulnerable, changing guard shifts, members scattered between patrols and duties. Celine came with Morgana and a force of rogue wolves who'd been promised power and territory in exchange for their help. They hit the pack house directly, bypassing the borders entirely through some kind of teleportation spell. One moment we were planning in Kieran's office. The next, the windows exploded inward and wolves were pouring through, followed by a woman whose hands crackled with purple lightning. Morgana. The witch. Hello, brother, Celine said, stepping through the broken window with a smile that was all teeth. She looked like Kieran, same dark hair, same amber eyes, but where his expression held honor and strength, hers held only ambition and madness. Miss me? Celine. Kieran shifted partially, claws extending, his wolf rising to the surface. Stand down. You don't want to do this. Oh, but I do. She circled us like a predator, and I realized she'd already shifted halfway too, her body caught between human and wolf in the fighting form that made her faster and stronger. I've wanted this for 5 years. Wanted the alpha position that should have been mine. Wanted the respect you got just for being born first, for being male. And I was so close, Elena's death nearly broke you. But then this little abomination showed up and ruined everything. I'm not an abomination, I said, my own wolf rising. I'm just trying to live my life. You're a freak of nature. A human soul wearing my sister-in-law's wolf like a coat. Celine's eyes flashed gold. And you're going to die. Again. She moved fast, faster than I expected, claws aimed for my throat. I barely dodged, Elena's combat instincts taking over, and suddenly we were fighting, really fighting, two wolves trying to tear each other apart. But Celine had been training her whole life. She was strong, vicious, and she knew all of Kieran's fighting techniques because she'd grown up learning beside him. I had Elena's memories, her skills, but I was still learning to access them fully, still struggling to separate what was mine from what was hers. Kieran tried to help, but Morgana's magic kept him back, purple chains wrapping around him, burning his skin where they touched. The other pack members were fighting the rogues, the house erupting into chaos and violence. Give up, Celine snarled, her claws raking across my ribs. You can't beat me. You're not even a real wolf, just a hollow shell wearing someone else's soul. She was right. I was losing. My body was covered in cuts, my wolf was tiring, and Celine just kept coming, relentless and brutal. Let me help, Elena's wolf whispered in my mind. Let me take control. I can beat her. No, I gasped, dodging another strike. If I let you take over, I might lose myself completely. Then we fight together, Elena's wolf insisted. Not you or me, us. Merged, united, one soul made of two. Trust me, Rowan. Trust yourself. I looked across the room at Kieran, still struggling against Morgana's chains, his eyes desperate as he watched me fight. I felt the mate bond thrumming between us, felt his love and fear and absolute faith that I could do this. And I made my choice. I stopped fighting Elena's presence and instead embraced it. Let her wolf rise not to replace me but to merge with me completely, creating something neither of us had been separately. My fighting style shifted, becoming fluid and unpredictable, Elena's technique combined with my own instincts. Her strength merged with my determination. Celine's eyes widened as I came at her with renewed vigor. What? I didn't let her finish. I fought like I'd never fought before, using every skill Elena had given me, every ounce of will I possessed, every bit of love I had for Kieran and this pack that had become my home. When my claws finally closed around Celine's throat, when I had her pinned and bleeding and defeated, I leaned close and whispered, I'm not Elena. I'm not just Rowan. I'm both and neither, something new and better. And you're never going to hurt my family again. Do it, she spat. Kill me. Prove you're as monstrous as I said. I looked at Kieran, at the pack members watching, at Thomas who'd been fighting beside us despite his own crimes. And I made another choice. No, I said, stepping back. You'll face pack justice, like Thomas. You'll answer for your crimes in front of everyone you betrayed. And you'll live with what you've done for whatever time you have left. Celine's face twisted with rage and defeat. You'll regret this. Morgana will. But Morgana was already gone, escaped through a portal during the chaos, leaving her ally behind. The rogues were defeated or fleeing, the attack broken. It was over. I shifted back to human form, exhausted and bleeding, and Kieran was there immediately, holding me up, checking me for injuries, his hands shaking with relief. You did it, he murmured. You fought as yourself. Not Elena, not just the wolf, you. We did it, I corrected. All of us. Together. The pack gathered around us, battered and bloody but alive, and for the first time since I'd arrived at Black Pine, I felt it, true belonging. Not because of whose soul I carried or whose blood ran in my veins, but because I'd fought for them, bled for them, chosen them. What happens now? Marcus asked quietly. I looked at the beta's offer, still tucked in my pocket. Looked at Celine, restrained and defeated. Looked at Kieran, my mate, my anchor, my home. Now, I said, we build something new. But that's a story for tomorrow. Tonight, we heal. And as the pack began to pick up the pieces, as healers moved among the wounded and guards secured the traitor, I let Kieran lead me away to somewhere quiet where we could just be. Two souls, one destiny, finally beginning to understand what that meant. The prophecy had been right. The first did fall so the second could rise. But we were both still rising together, and our story was far from over. If you're still listening to this story up to this point, why don't you subscribe to this channel to continue getting impactful daily stories like this? We would be most grateful if you can do that to help boost this video to reach everyone. Thank you. Chapter 5. The healing took 3 days. 3 days of Sage and her team working around the clock, mending broken bones and torn flesh, stitching wounds and easing pain. 3 days of pack members recovering, mourning the 2 wolves we'd lost in the battle, and trying to process everything that had happened. 3 days of me learning to live with what I'd become. The merge with Elena's wolf had changed something fundamental. Before, her presence had been like a whisper in the back of my mind, instincts and memories that surfaced when needed. Now, we were truly one. I could feel both souls coexisting in harmony, neither dominant, neither subservient. Just us. It was strange and beautiful and terrifying all at once. Kieran barely left my side during those 3 days. He held me through the nightmares, talked me through the moments of confusion when I couldn't tell which memories were mine and which were Elena's, and reminded me over and over that I was still me, just more. On the morning of the 4th day, I woke to find him watching me sleep, his amber eyes soft in the early light. "You do that a lot," I murmured, stretching. Most of my injuries had healed thanks to wolf metabolism and Sage's magic, leaving only faint pink lines that would fade to nothing in another day or 2. "I'm making up for 3 years of not being able to watch anyone sleep." His fingers traced lazy patterns on my bare shoulder. "And making sure you're really here. Really mine. Still afraid I'll disappear? Every damn day." He leaned down to kiss me, slow and sweet. "But I'm learning to live with the fear. Learning that loving someone means accepting they could leave, but choosing to love them anyway. I'm not going anywhere, I promised. Even if Blood Moon offers me a crown made of pure gold." His expression sobered. "Have you decided?" "About their offer." The Blood Moon Beta had given me 1 day to decide about the Alpha position. That had been 4 days ago, and I still hadn't given them an answer. The truth was, I didn't know what I wanted. I sat up, pulling the sheet around me. "I think I need to meet them. The pack, I mean. Not as Darius's heir or some political chess piece, but as myself. If they still want me after that, if they can accept what I am, maybe I can help them. Build that bridge between Blood Moon and Black Pine that Darius never could." "You want to be alpha of both packs?" Kieran didn't sound upset, just curious. "No. I want to be your mate first, always. But maybe I can be a liaison, a connection point. Split my time between both territories, help them heal from Darius's leadership, show them that peace is possible." I looked at him anxiously. "Is that crazy? Trying to have both? It's ambitious. Difficult. Unprecedented." He smiled. "But then again, so are you. And if anyone can make it work, it's the woman who carries 2 souls in harmony." Relief flooded through me. "You're okay with this?" "I'm okay with anything that makes you happy." He pulled me close, pressing a kiss to my forehead. "Besides, having Blood Moon as allies instead of enemies would strengthen both packs. It's good strategy as much as it's good for your heart." "When did you get so wise?" "When I nearly lost everything and learned what actually matters." His voice turned serious. "Speaking of which, we need to deal with Celine today. The pack's been waiting for judgment, and we can't put it off any longer." My stomach nodded. Celine was still in the cells, still waiting to face the consequences of her betrayal. Pack law was clear about the punishment for her crimes: death or permanent exile, stripped of her wolf and cast out to live as human. Either way, Kieran would lose his sister. "I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I know she's family." "She stopped being family the moment she murdered Elena." His voice was hard, but I could feel his grief through the mate bond. Deep and painful and complicated. "But you're right. She's still my sister. And that makes this harder than it should be. The pack gathered at noon in the Great Hall, every member present to witness justice. Selene was brought up from the cells in silver chains, looking diminished somehow, smaller, older, the madness in her eyes replaced by hollow resignation. Kieran stood at the front with me beside him, the alpha and his mate, presenting a united front. Marcus was on his other side, Thomas next to him, the former traitor who'd earned a stay of execution by fighting with us against the rogues. He'd been injured badly, was still healing, but he'd insisted on being present. Selene Blackwood, Kieran's voice rang through the hall. You stand accused of conspiracy, murder, betrayal of pack bonds, and attempted assassination of the Alpha's mate. How do you answer these charges? Guilty. Selene's voice was flat. To all of it. I did everything they said and more. I orchestrated Elena's death, worked with Morgana to try to break you, hired rogues to attack the pack. I did it all for power, for the Alpha position I thought should have been mine. A ripple went through the crowd. Confession made the sentence inevitable. You know the punishment, Kieran said quietly. I know. Selene looked at him then, and for just a moment, I saw the sister she might have been, the girl who'd grown up with him, played with him, loved him before ambition poisoned everything. I'm sorry, Kieran. For what it's worth. I know it doesn't change anything, but I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to be the sister you deserved. Kieran's jaw tightened. I could feel his turmoil through the bond, justice warring with love, duty against family. He opened his mouth to pronounce sentence. Wait. The word came from the back of the hall, and everyone turned to see Sage pushing her way forward, her healer's bag in hand and an urgent expression on her face. Before you pass judgment, there's something you need to know. Sage, Kieran frowned. What? I've been examining Selene since we locked her up, trying to understand how she could have done these things. She's always been ambitious, yes, but this level of cruelty, of calculated evil, it didn't fit. Sage pulled out a vial filled with dark purple liquid. So I tested her blood. And I found this, traces of a potion that's been administered regularly for years. It's designed to amplify negative emotions, suppress empathy, heighten aggression, and paranoia. The hall erupted in shocked murmurs. Morgana poisoned her? I asked. Not just poisoned. Controlled. Sage looked at Selene with pity. This potion doesn't make you do things against your will, but it takes your worst impulses and magnifies them 100-fold. Every jealous thought, every resentful moment, it would have felt overwhelming, irresistible. Combined with Morgana's dark magic, Selene never stood a chance. Are you saying I'm not responsible? Selene's laugh was bitter. Don't make excuses for me, healer. I wanted the power. Morgana just helped me go after it. How long? Kieran demanded. How long were you taking the potion? 5 years. Selene's voice was barely a whisper. She approached me after the Alpha ceremony, when you were named successor over me. Said she could help me get what I deserved. I thought it was just courage in a bottle. I didn't know it was, that it would turn you into a monster, Kieran finished. The grief in his voice was palpable. Selene, why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you come to me? Because I was ashamed. Because I'd already done terrible things under its influence and I couldn't face what I'd become. And because... She looked up, tears streaming down her face. Because part of me wanted it. The jealousy, the anger, it was already there. Morgana's potion just made it impossible to ignore. The hall was silent. Everyone was looking at Kieran, waiting for his judgment. The law was clear: conspiracy and murder demanded death. But Selene had been manipulated, poisoned, turned into a weapon by someone else's dark magic. What was the right answer? Kieran looked at me, and I felt his question through the bond. What do you think? I studied Selene, broken, poisoned, but still his sister. Still someone who might be saved. I think Elena would want mercy, I sent back. And I think you'll regret it for the rest of your life if you kill her without trying to save her first. Kieran took a deep breath, then turned to face the pack. Selene Blackwood, your crimes are unforgivable. But you were acting under magical influence, poisoned by an enemy who used your weaknesses against you. Therefore, I'm offering you a choice. Selene looked up, hope flickering in her eyes for the first time. Option 1. Death, quick and clean. The traditional punishment. Option 2. Exile for 5 years under Sage's care to be cleansed of Morgana's poison and taught to control your darker impulses. If you complete the exile successfully, you may petition to return to the pack, not as my sister, not as heir, but as an Omega. Lowest rank, having to earn your way back up through service and dedication. And if I fail the exile? Selene asked. Then you remain exiled permanently, stripped of your wolf, living as human. Kieran's voice was steady, but I could feel his pain. Choose now. Selene closed her eyes. For a long moment, she was silent. Then, exile. I choose exile. I want to try to be better. To be the sister I should have been. Relief flooded through the bond from Kieran. So be it. Sage, she's your responsibility. Marcus, arrange transport to the exile cabin on the northern border. She leaves today. The pack murmured their approval. It was a fair judgment, balancing mercy with justice. Selene was led away by Sage, already starting the process of cleansing her blood of Morgana's poison. After the hall cleared, Kieran sagged against me, his strength finally giving out. Did I do the right thing? He asked hoarsely. Or am I just a fool who can't let go of family? You did the right thing, I assured him. Justice without mercy is just revenge. And Selene deserves a chance to prove she's more than what Morgana made her. Thank you. He buried his face in my neck. For being here. For helping me be the alpha I want to be instead of the one I'm afraid I am. That's what mates are for, I said softly. To make each other better. We stood there for a long moment, just holding each other, letting the weight of judgment settle. Then Marcus cleared his throat from the doorway. Sorry to interrupt, but the Blood Moon Beta is here again. Says they've been patient, but they need Rowan's answer today. Kieran and I exchanged glances. Time to decide, he said. Already decided, I replied. I just need to meet them first. The Blood Moon Pack was gathered at the border, maybe 60 wolves total, smaller than Black Pine, but no less impressive. The Beta, whose name I learned was Garrett, stood at the front, flanked by the pack elders. Rowan, Garrett said as I approached with Kieran and Marcus. We're glad you came. The pack has been anxious to meet you. I'm anxious to meet them too. I took a deep breath. But before we go any further, you need to understand something. I'm not Darius. I won't lead the way he did, won't make the same choices he made. I'm mated to Kieran Blackwood, which means my first loyalty will always be to Black Pine. But if Blood Moon can accept that, if you can accept me as a bridge between packs rather than a traditional alpha, then I'd be honored to help guide you. The elders whispered among themselves. Then an old woman stepped forward, her white hair braided with feathers and her eyes sharp with intelligence. I'm Vera, eldest of Blood Moon. We've heard about you, Rowan Thorn Blackwood. About the 2 souls you carry, about your mercy toward enemies, about your strength in battle. She studied me carefully. Darius was a strong alpha, but he ruled through fear and aggression. We don't want another Darius. We want someone who can help us heal, help us find peace. Can you do that? I can try, I said honestly. I won't promise perfection, and I won't pretend I have all the answers. But I'll work my ass off to help Blood Moon become the pack it deserves to be. And I'll build a real alliance with Black Pine, trade agreements, mutual defense, shared resources. We'll be stronger together. Vera smiled. Spoken like a true alpha. Though I suggest we don't call you Alpha of Blood Moon. That carries too much baggage from Darius's time. Instead, we'll call you what you are, the bridge. The wolf who connects 2 packs, 2 worlds, 2 souls in harmony. The bridge. I liked it. Then I accept, I said. On the condition that I can choose my own beta here, someone I trust to run things when I'm with Black Pine. Choose whoever you wish, Vera said. Blood Moon is yours now, daughter of Darius. Use it wisely. The pack held an acceptance, and I felt something settle in my chest, a new bond, different from the mate bond with Kieran, but no less real. Pack bonds, connecting me to these wolves, making them mine to protect and guide. Kieran squeezed my hand. You okay? Yeah, I sent back. Just realizing I went from having no family to having about 300 family members in the span of a week. Welcome to pack life, he sent with a touch of amusement. The meeting continued with logistics. I'd spend 3 days a week at Blood Moon, for at Black Pine, with the ability to adjust as needed. Garrett would be my beta, helping maintain order when I wasn't present. We'd start with small alliance steps, joint patrols, shared training, trade of resources, and build from there. It was ambitious. Maybe impossible. But looking at the hopeful faces of Blood Moon Pack, feeling Kieran's support through the bond, I thought maybe we could actually pull it off. We were heading back to Black Pine when Marcus suddenly stopped, his whole body going rigid. "Mate," he whispered. Kieran and I froze. "What?" "I can feel. There's someone." Marcus took off running back toward the Blood Moon gathering, his wolf close to the surface. We followed, arriving just in time to see Marcus standing frozen in front of a young woman with auburn hair and startled green eyes. She was staring at him with the same shocked expression, her hand pressed to her chest. "Mate," she breathed. "Well," Kieran said with the first real laugh I'd heard from him in days. "That's one way to cement the alliance." Marcus and his mate, her name was Lara, and she was one of Blood Moon's best warriors, were inseparable for the rest of the day. They kept touching each other like they couldn't quite believe the bond was real, kept staring at each other with dopey expressions that would have been annoying if they weren't so damn sweet. "That could have been us," Kieran murmured as we watched them from across the clearing. "If I hadn't been such an idiot at the beginning." "We got there eventually," I said. "That's what matters." Still. He turned to me, taking both my hands. "I never properly apologized, did I? For the way I treated you when you first arrived. For comparing you to Elena, for making you feel like you were second best." "Kieran, let me finish." His thumbs traced circles on my palms. "I need you to understand something. I loved Elena. She was my first mate, my first love, and losing her nearly destroyed me. But you, Rowan, you're not her replacement. You're not second best. You're the woman who put me back together, who showed me I could love again, who carries Elena's wolf while still being completely yourself. And I don't love you despite your connection to Elena. I love you because you're brave enough to carry that burden, strong enough to forge your own path, and stubborn enough to fight for us even when I was too broken to fight for myself." Tears burned in my eyes. "That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me." "Good." He kissed me softly. "Because I want to say something else romantic. Marry me. Not just the mate bond, but a full ceremony. I want to speak vows in front of both packs, acknowledge Elena's sacrifice, and commit my life to you officially." "Yes," I said without hesitation. "Yes, absolutely yes." His smile was brilliant. "When?" "Tomorrow. Next week. Next month. I don't care as long as I'm yours." "You're already mine," he said. "Have been since the moment you walked into my pack house looking like you'd seen a ghost." Technically, I was the ghost. Terrible joke. "You love my terrible jokes." "I love everything about you," he said seriously. "That's the problem." We planned the ceremony for the next full moon, for weeks away, enough time to prepare, but not so long that we'd lose momentum. It would be held at the border between Black Pine and Blood Moon territories, symbolizing the unity we were building. Both packs would attend, along with allied packs from the region. Sage threw herself into planning with an enthusiasm that would have been terrifying if it wasn't so effective. She coordinated with Blood Moon's healers, arranged for flowers and food, and designed a ceremony that honored both traditional wolf bonding and the unique circumstances of our relationship. The night before the ceremony, I dreamed of Elena. We stood in a forest clearing, moonlight filtering through the trees. She looked exactly like her photo, dark hair, green eyes, that bright smile that had captured Kieran's heart. "Hi," I said awkwardly. "I wasn't sure if we could talk." She laughed. "We've been talking for months, Rowan. You just weren't always listening." "Are you real? Or is this just my subconscious processing everything? Does it matter?" She moved closer. "Real or imagined, I needed to say thank you. For taking care of him. For loving him. For being everything I couldn't be. You sacrificed yourself for him. That's pretty much the ultimate expression of love. I sacrificed myself for the pack, for the future. Loving Kieran was just what made the choice easier." She took my hand, and I could feel her warmth, real or imagined. It felt true. "But you're loving him in the present," every day, through the mundane moments and the difficult ones. That's harder than dying for someone, Rowan. That's choosing them over and over again. I don't feel like a hero. Good. Heroes are overrated. She grinned. Just be his mate. Be his partner. Be the bridge that connects not just Pax but past and future, death and life. That's more than enough. Will you? I hesitated. Will you stay? Your wolf, I mean. Or will you fade now that things are settling? I'll always be part of you, she said gently. Not controlling, not separate, just there. Like a memory that lives in your bones, an instinct you can trust. But you're the one in control now, Rowan. You're the one making choices. I'm just along for the ride. Thank you, I whispered. For the sacrifice, for the wolf, for everything. Thank you for the second chance at life, even if it's through you. She started to fade, becoming translucent in the moonlight. Love him well, Rowan. And love yourself too. You deserve that. She disappeared, and I woke to find Kieran watching me sleep again. Dreaming, he asked softly. Saying goodbye, I replied. To the ghost. To the past. To everything that brought us here. Ready for tomorrow? So ready. The ceremony was beautiful. Both packs gathered at sunset, forming a circle around the clearing where Kieran and I would speak our vows. Sage had decorated everything with white flowers and silver ribbons, and pack members from both sides mingled peacefully, a sight that would have been impossible just weeks ago. Marcus stood beside Kieran as his best man, while Lara stood with me, the new mate bond between them glowing bright and happy. Vera and the other elders from Blood Moon watched from one side, while Black Pine's leadership stood on the other. Thomas was there too, under guard but present, a reminder of second chances and redemption. As the full moon rose, casting silver light over everything, Kieran and I stepped into the center of the circle. The ceremony was simple but profound. We spoke traditional vows first, promises to protect, to honor, to stand together through whatever came. Then Kieran added his own words. Rowan, you came into my life when I was broken, when I thought I'd never feel whole again. You brought me back to life, not by replacing what I lost, but by showing me I could love again, differently but no less deeply. You carry the wolf of my first mate, and I honor that sacrifice, acknowledge Elena's gift, and let her memory rest in peace. But it's you I'm pledging to, Rowan Thornblackwood. You in all your stubborn, fierce, beautiful complexity. You who bridges packs and souls and past and future. I love you. I choose you. Today and always. I was crying by the time he finished. Kieran, I came here looking for answers about who I was, and instead I found everything I never knew I needed. I found a mate who loves me for who I am, not who I carry. I found a pack, 2 packs, who accepted me despite being something unprecedented. And I found myself, merged and whole and finally at peace. I love you too. I choose you too. And I promise to be your partner in everything, in leading, in fighting, in healing, in building the future Elena sacrificed herself to make possible. Sage stepped forward with a silver knife, the traditional tool for blood bonding. Kieran and I each cut our palms, then pressed them together, letting our blood mingle as our wolves sang in harmony. 2 souls, 1 destiny, Sage intoned. 2 packs, 1 alliance. 2 wolves, 1 bond that cannot be broken. I pronounce you mated for life, Alpha Kieran Blackwood and Bridge Rowan Blackwood, united in love and purpose. The packs held together, Black Pine and Blood Moon, former enemies now celebrating as one. The sound rose to the moon, a promise and a prayer and a beginning. Kieran kissed me as the howls echoed around us, and I felt complete in a way I'd never imagined possible. Not just his mate, not just the bridge, but myself, Rowan, who'd started with nothing and now had everything. The celebration lasted until dawn. Epilogue. 3 months later, in a hidden sanctuary far from pack territories, Morgana knelt before a council of 5 hooded figures, their faces obscured by shadows and ancient magic. The girl survived, she reported, her voice steady despite the rage simmering beneath. The prophecy of the twin-souled wolf is coming true. She's united the Black Pine and Blood Moon packs, grown stronger than even I anticipated. My plan with Celine failed. We know. The central figure leaned forward, and moonlight caught on pale hands adorned with runes. We've been watching. The twin-souled wolf was always meant to survive. She's crucial to the larger design. Then why did you support my attempt to kill her? Morgana demanded. To test her. To push her toward her full potential. The figure's voice carried amusement. She needed to merge the two souls completely, needed to forge alliances, needed to prove she could survive chaos. You served your purpose perfectly. Morgana's joy tightened. And now? Now we accelerate our plans. Another hooded figure spoke, this one female. The twin-souled wolf is just the beginning. The prophecy speaks of 4 corners, 4 unique wolves who will either save or destroy the supernatural world. We've found 2 others already, and we'll find the 4th soon. And when we have all 4? Morgana asked. Then we complete the ritual. The central figure stood, and power radiated from them like heat. The old magic will return. The ancient ways will be restored. And those who've hidden in the shadows for centuries will finally rise. What do you need from me? Watch the girl. Watch her mate. When the time comes, when all 4 corners gather, we'll need someone on the inside. Someone who understands their weaknesses. The figure's smile was audible. Can you do that, witch? Can you play the long game? Morgana bowed her head. I've been playing the long game for 5 years. I can wait a little longer. Good. The council began to dissolve into shadow. The prophecy is in motion. The twin-souled wolf has risen. Soon, the others will follow. And when they do, the world as they know it will end. Morgana watched them disappear, then turned to stare out at the moonlit forest. Somewhere out there, Rowan Blackwood was celebrating her new life, thinking she'd won, thinking the danger had passed. She had no idea the real game was just beginning. Enjoy your happiness while it lasts, little wolf, Morgana whispered. The storm is coming. And this time, not even 2 souls will be enough to survive it. She disappeared into the night, leaving only darkness behind. The end. For now. Back at Black Pine, wrapped in Kieran's arms after another successful joint patrol, I felt a sudden chill despite the warmth of his body. You okay? He murmured sleepily. Yeah. I pressed closer to him, shaking off the feeling. Just a weird moment. Like someone walked over my grave. You're safe, he promised, his wolf rumbling contentedly. I've got you. I know. And I did. Whatever was coming, we'd face it together, 2 packs, 2 souls, 1 unbreakable bond. The future was uncertain, but then again, it always had been. The difference now was I didn't have to face it alone. I had Kieran. I had the packs. I had myself, finally whole and at peace. Whatever storms were coming, we'd weather them. Together. Always together. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe, like, and share this video to continue listening to this type of story daily and also to appreciate this community too. I would like to hear your wonderful opinion about this story. Please comment below.